Good evening. How's everybody out there doing tonight? It's your boy, Coach Lee Bayless, however you want to say it. But welcome to another installment of Iron Sharpens Iron. And as always, I have the pleasure to come on here and chop it up with my co-host, friend, mentor. He might not think so, but he definitely is. But my man, A Situation, how you doing tonight?
Man, I'm chilling, man. As always, my brother. You see how I be acting when I get in here, man. This is like the highlight of my every couple of months. Whenever we do it, it's one of the highlights, man. I enjoy it, man, because you are one thing, you keep me humble, and then for another thing, you always kind of bring something to light that I really may not have noticed, man. So yeah, I appreciate you having me on every time, bro.
Hey, glad to have you on here, man. Wouldn't do it without you. I definitely I get a lot from you as well, different perspectives on things, how to analyze things a little bit differently. And because it's not always one way or one sided, so to speak. So you got to be able to think outside the box, look at things from different variables and whatnot.
Right.
So we synced up and we was planning for this, and you and I actually had a lot of fun with this because this idea kind of this is your baby.
Yeah.
And I was having a senior moment. I'm like, man, what we gonna talk about this time?
Right.
You shot it out. I'm like, bet it's definitely gonna do that.
Right. It's
Now, this
important.
the time
It's
is perfect.
it's perfect. Yeah. It's working out.
So, with that being said, man, we're gonna jump right into it. And tonight, we want to look at things from a perspective of voting rights, from a certain community, namely us, and how look a bit at the background of it, the grassroots organizations, kind of get into the meat and potatoes of it, and then look at the current status and where we at, and then finally what their future may look like. Because, as you know, it's no secret, our vote as of right now today is the most important vote. We talked last show how that's about to change. That narrative has already been set up, but for right now, we decide the elections. So, with that being said, um, we talked about in the past as far as traditionally, we're taught to most importantly, be towards the Democratic Party. But you and I are the same point of mind of neither one of y'all doing what y'all supposed to be doing, and you can't just think just because I'm associated with this certain demographic that you automatically gonna get my vote. You either gonna bring something to the table that I feel is attainable or tangible rather for me, or you talked about it before. I'm gonna sit this one out.
Sit it on out.
So when you think about the black voting rights, what sticks out to you as far as the actual background of it, as far as how do we go from namely, how do we get to this point that we at right now? What has happened in the past that's gotten us to the point we're at now, where we are associated with one thing, and then if you think on the other side of the aisle, if you're more of a conservative Republican, whatever you want to call yourself to be, how you kind of get like seen as a sellout, an uncle, certain animal in the animal kingdom, things of that nature.
Right.
So how do we get to this point to whereas, because I understand we got as a whole, we have to be more in unison with one another, but we know we're not based on our communities.
Right.
But when it comes to this vote thing, we pretty much, man, we like Bloods and Crips on that. Like,
Exactly.
this is who I'm riding with, no matter what's going on. So how do we get to that point?
Exactly. Main thing is and we see the memes and I don't even think that what we see when we investigate like through social media and other platforms and just media in particular, you don't see how divisive the political system is when your emotions are enthralled in it. So that's how we got here. So we have a structure that's been over us and understands how to manipulate us for years. And they also know, don't get it twisted, like you kind of mentioned about how being, if you are a conservative black person, right, you looked at differently. People understand that, right? just like if you're a conservative black person and you're in or you deal with the communities, and I ain't gonna say who they are, but those communities, there are certain benefits to being a conservative black person. You see what I'm saying? And outrightly, just like there's a negative benefit when you're around your own people, there's a positive benefit when you're around other people and you have a conservative outlook on things. But I think, like I said before, black people in general are conservative in thinking. But what's happened is because the Democratic Party, like you mentioned earlier, is so used to being able to get our vote and so used to being able to use us to be able to, they control, I guess what I'm trying to say is they control the fact, they know the narrative of the conservative, right? So they know that their enemy, this is basically two, the same bird, but each side of the wing is fighting one another for the vote. And we're always caught in the middle, like you always said. So really how we got to this point is it's just divisive propaganda and strategy from the powers that be. I mean, and that's really how you put it in simple terms. It's just divisiveness, man. They got us out here and they have us confused and they have us emotionally attached to one thing or another, right? And for the most part, it's the Democratic Party, but in some cases, some of us decide that we want to swing conservative, however that may be. But yeah, they just know how to manipulate the system. But at the end of the day, each side wins. So it doesn't even matter who gets in there, like we discussed. We never get anything. So that's how I'd answer that.
So shout out to Uncle Leroy. He's joining in here with us tonight. He says, what is a conservative black person? So when you hear that term, what comes to mind for you?
Well,
real quick, for me, I know a lot of people might try to equate it to being, somebody that's Republican, i.e. a sellout and so on. But I think a black conservative, I think somebody that takes fiscal responsibility, someone that, to be honest, probably what we should mainly be somebody that takes care of their own communities, and they figure less government. We don't need government helping us do nothing because we're going to take care of our own. So when I think of black conservative, that's kind of the initial variables that I think of. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Nah, you perfect, bro. I mean, and because I probably wouldn't even have worded it that way because I don't associate myself with either. But you hit the nail on the head. When people think a black conservative, they just think a sellout, right? But think about conservative in its traditional definition. A conservative person has conservative views. When your mama and them taught you right from wrong, that's what being a conservative means. It means you believe you have morals and you have standards. And like I said earlier, they twist it and then they put you in this category that they want you to stay in and have you thinking a term that your mama and them raised you on for the most part is now you a sellout. Your mama told you do the crime, you do the time. Your mama told you got to work hard to get to where you going. That's a conservative mind state. So when the people who are out here promoting this propaganda discuss a black conservative, they're always going to associate you with automatically being this type of person. Now, please don't get it twisted when I say this. There's some conservative black folks out there that is all the way like that. They're all the way like that, Jack. Don't get it twisted. I ain't gonna say, I'm trying to. I don't really like to call out names on my people at all, but I can guarantee you, bro. There are some conservative people that don't look at it how maybe me and you are looking at it from a just a standard definition without politics. But if you take away politics, black people in general are conservative because we believe in what's right. Well, actually, think about it. We believe in standing up for our freedoms. We the ones in this country, the history has shown we've done the most conservative things. We believe in conservatism. We fight for conservatism. But you'll never know you're a conservative because they got you fooled into thinking that being conservative, because the far right is rightfully so. That's why I say it's a dirty game. The far right is so messed up indeed and so in bed with racism, and it's so overt that because the term is now associated with Republican, all you see is the other side. But to simplify it, a black conservative or a conservative mindset for a black person that's just trying to do the right thing is basically how we were all raised as black people. Just, hey, man, let's try to do the right thing. Let's try to get business taken care of, and that's it. So that's how I got it in my.
I couldn't agree. I couldn't agree even more, brother. And it's a different dynamic that's kind of going on right now. You've got the Republican Party that's essentially kind of split, even though we probably won't see it until probably the next presidential election. 'Cause I don't think we're going to see this visible split during the midterms,
Right.
um, because you got the MAGA group, and then you've got the GOP group, and there's some infighting going on. And which is funny about that because the same thing is happening
On
on
the
the
other
left.
side.
You got the progressives versus the traditional Democrats, or
Exactly.
some Democrats that are conservative as well. Um, but I think it's probably if I had to say though, I think the left side is probably going to eat themselves from the inside out more so than the other side, because the other
Exactly.
side has a figurehead, and
Exactly.
as long as that figurehead is kind of out there, they can have that split. But I think just because they're more, conservative in ways and try to run off in less emotion than the other side, that at the end of the day, they can come back and band
They
together for common
they
enemy.
can bring it together. They gonna bring it together, man. They do on that side. On that side, at the end of the day, they know at the end of the day, their goal is to knock the other half out by any means
True.
necessary. So
True.
they'll work it out. They'll definitely work it out. That's
So
funny too.
at this at the same point, you're starting to see more and more, and we'll see. We won't know till this November when
Right.
we have, the general election for the midterms. But you're starting to see more and more because of what's perceived as some of the craziness that's going on the left side. They're denouncing their Democratic ties and coming to the Republican side. And I'm starting to hear terms on the right, whereas there's parts of them that's starting to identify as a working man's party right now. You got, both sides got elitists on both sides.
Right. Oh, of course, of course.
But in the past, it was always just assumed that the working man side was the Democrats. But now you see a effort being made on the right side to point that out. We haven't been this diversified in X amount of years, or if not ever. We're now identifying, they're coming right out and say they're identifying as the working man's party. And with that being said, on the topic that we're discussing tonight, the black vote is powerful. Is this something that can stay the long term? Like they're slowly transferring and the ideologies and getting more blacks. The Latinos seem like they're already migrating over there.
Oh, I feel like the Latinos already been over there, but yeah. Yeah.
So that's dangerous though, because if you got us starting to go over there, the Latinos already there, the traditional GOP, I don't like the idea of one party just being dominant. Because when one party is dominant, that's when the biases come into play. Because
Oh, of
there's no
course.
checks and balances, they can go do the crazy stuff they got. So I don't know. Like you say, in our values that we're raised in, we're conservative in nature. And now, I guess because people champion themselves on being individuals now, they want to stand out as individuals. So you got more people like, you know what? My parents were Democrats this whole time. I think go check out this other side, and I'm gonna stand on it. Do you think that has any longevity?
I do because I think most of the people that are going to count moving forward are going to be the younger vote. I think the young folks see the only people in the black community that are just hell bent on staying completely democratic are like our parents, baby boomers. See what I'm saying? It's the
Mm-hmm.
boomers that that they just cannot, for whatever reason, they cannot disassociate themselves with the Democratic Party no matter what. And I've heard so many people, family members and stuff, just come up with so much ridiculousness to 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 support the things that are happening
Mm-hmm.
that they just stuck in there. So I think what's going to happen, what we're going to see moving forward is the youngsters, they look at things a little bit different, man. They just different. They different when it comes to everything, y'all. And I know you know because you got it. So you know they look at things differently. So as they're coming up and they evolve and they get past the young stages of their lives and they kind of teeter over into where they're going to start getting involved in political affiliations, I definitely think that they're going to be looking at it from a totally different, from a totally, they're going to be looking for something tangible. So what I'm going to say is this: if the Republicans can even promise something tangible, right? Promise something tangible, you may definitely get a shot at getting the black vote because at least you're getting a promise on something tangible. All the Democrats are doing right now is crowbarring other agendas in, confusing everybody, mixing them up, and kind of saying it's a black agenda. But then when you really break it down, when it comes down to handing out tangibles, it never is nothing on our side. Young folks, they see that. And as they progress and they get older, I definitely can see a flip. I definitely can see either a flip or a group of individuals that won't be involved in the political system at all. That's what I see.
Okay. Okay. So when you look at the past, because I know you know to an extent, you know, I could be wrong, you tell me if I am or not. You are a historian because you've always been a curious person. I've been knowing you since you was on the bike, you know, riding
Yeah.
around the neighborhood, messing with people's dogs and stuff.
doing all the wrong things. doing all the wrong things.
I've always noticed you've always been a curious person, and you always somebody can tell you something, but you're gonna be like, I hear you, but I'm gonna go here and find out for myself and come to my own conclusion. Now, with
Right.
that being said, I think that's what the bridge has been made at because our parents was kind of like more traditional. This is how it is. You fall in line, ABC. You go to school or go to work, get married, have a family, go to church, die. That's pretty much how it worked out.
Right,
Um,
exactly. And that's pretty damn conservative, by the way. Let's remind all the black people that's what you was taught, but you think you liberal, you conservative, because that's what your mama them told you to do. You might not have did that, but that's what they told you to do. But go ahead.
so we come along, whereas we were kind of that first generation that didn't grow up with the segregation that our parents did. My mom said, she still remember when she was little. They, the two different water fountains, them going on trips, and them trying to tell them to come to the backside, to get fed on for food and stuff like that. And my grandpa like, bump that, we ain't doing that. We finna ride out.
Yeah.
So we come along, we got choices, you got cable TV, you got all these music stations, we got choices, and then round about the time when we start to identify who we are, the individual, boom, we get hit with the internet to where we got all this information that's accessible to us at this point in time. Now, with that being said, we can check it up. We can check somebody now. Back in the past, somebody tell you something, you kind of, unless they lied to you before, you just kind of roll with it. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
He's always been a stand-up guy, but now somebody tell you something, you can real time in the argument or in a discussion rather. They say something. Hold on a second. You can go on your phone and okay, you read? You know what I'm saying? You right? Go ahead and continue. Oh, you say it ain't saying that right here.
Exactly.
Credibility is in question, and I think with that credibility in question, the information being available, now we see what we're seeing right now. To whereas the young people, they not just as a whole, still some out there, but as a whole, they're not just saying this is how it always been, so this is what we're going to do as well. They're challenging it. They're stretching on the boundaries of the social norm. So the things that we had established in the past is almost obsolete if you think about it, because we got too many choice now, and our kids now they way out there now. You know, I remember I had to talk with my kids. In particular, my son. We had the birds and bees talk, but it was nothing like my talk was, because at that point in time I had already assumed my son, he had internet access, so he's been exposed to some stuff. So when it came down to sit down, and I ain't gonna go into too many details, but I, once I sat down and started talking about politics with him, I found he was more versed in politics than I was.
Mm.
Because of he already had established his values. He already knew what side of the aisle he was on, and he was able to articulate why he thought like that. And
With
it
some
blew me
good
away. Man.
with some good information to back it up too.
It blew me away because I ain't gonna even lie, man. I didn't vote until Obama the first election. I was in my
Preach.
20s. I
Preach,
was
bro.
so I had, it was always kind of like, yeah, you can vote, but you kind of treated voting like you did jury duty. If I got time, I'll do it, but I really
Right.
don't want to do it.
Right. Exactly. Oh,
So
it's a big part. It's a big part of their life now. It's because it's always out there. It's a big part of their life.
they're certain doing it, and they've got the ability as we do now as well, but we can see stuff that's happening all over the world. Now you got to decipher because you got some media outlets. Just give me the facts. I don't need to know what your opinion is. Just let me know this is what's going on. This was the outcome. I don't want to hear all the other stuff, but you have the ability to decipher through that. Now, the whole identity politics thing, I thought it wasn't comical, but it was more of, I guess it's probably more sad than anything. When the recent thing that popped off over Ukraine, automatically they politicized it. You got the right saying, Putin, he had to, for the most part, had the right to do what he did. You had the left side standing up saying, he's coming in, he's taking their land, blah, 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 blah. But then I noticed a lot of people had some egg on their face when the Democratic Party, who's supposed to be for us, and the Republican Party, who's supposed to be the other side, once more facts are coming out, they both sides were kind of stuck. Because the right side was more like, yeah, he got a right to do what he did, but is it the right thing to do? They started being a little bit more liberal beliefs or democratic beliefs of he probably shouldn't have did that because you got human lives over it. Because they always try to say that, the right side, they have no human contact. It's always just straight facts. It's black and white. There's no gray area.
Right.
Now, in this is more gray area coming from the right side. But then on the left side, they had egg on their face as well because you start seeing these videos and hear these stories about these black immigrants that was living over there getting forced off these trains and stuff. Now y'all went to their aid real fast. We helped Ukrainian people, blah, blah, blah. But then it came out in real time when, it was nut cutting time. They was doing some of the racist stuff that happened over here.
Ooh, I didn't even know you was going to slide into it. You slid into that. I thought it was going to be me. You slid into that. You slid into it, but you hit the nail on the head. And I think partly of that is, well, first things first, clearly there's fear from the left and the right. Clearly, both the left and the right understand that whatever move we make, if it's considered to be an act of war by this man, clearly they feel as if it could be a catastrophic response, right? That we can agree on. But I'm like you. It was crazy when then that's the only reason why the right's getting a little scared, because the right's kind of looking at it like, well, because then you have a president that's uncertain. Now we know whether or not, if Trump was in office, let's just keep it a buck. We know whether either one or two things going to happen. Either he was going to decisively stand down or he's going to decisively make a move, right? Whether it's right or wrong is not in question. So that's what the right is dealing with. The right is dealing with the fact that they know that they don't have a confident leader in right now. Sorry for you Biden sexuals, you might get offended by that. He's not confident, meaning that he can't confidently make a decision on whether to stand down or to move forward, regardless of whatever the reason is. So that's why the right is kind of like, yeah, it is kind of sketchy. We don't know, you know what I'm saying? And then they also want to assert power. That's what the right is all about, is power. So they also want something done too. So they're kind of they're stuck because really it's conflicting with their norm, because they don't have anybody to run to and say he's going to make a call and then they're a little bit confused as to whether or not what type of call will be made. And on the left side, just like you said, and I think it's more propaganda coming from the left than it is the right. The right is, to me, the right, the only propaganda the right is always going to have is they just going to flame up the left. Whatever decision they make, it's going to be considered dumb. So I don't care about what I already know what their angle is. Their angle is overt and clear. You see what I'm saying? One thing you know about them, they're going to take advantage of it the same way they always take advantage of it, which is to basically disgrace the current administration. So we know that. So on the left, though, when you look at it, it's just like you said. They seem to be a little confused because they don't know what to do, because now they're put in a position to where they have made it seem like this particular country is so important that we intervene, but then the blatant racism that's coming out, they kind of covering up. I seen a few, I don't know if you've seen it, but I seen a few sister girls on some of the liberal media outlets, and they were basically saying what they always say. Black people need to get with the big picture. Yeah, this is happening and it's wrong, but the big picture is Ukraine. And it's like, man, and it's just like you said, it sticks out like a sore thumb to me now. So because of the alternative media sources that I look at it, I'm cheating. I'm ahead. I'm 3 months ahead already because I'm already knowing. Because I mean, I'm so happy. I'm so happy that I just remembered that. It's just like you said earlier when you said that we have access to the internet, and that's what changed the game. It's changing the game for us too, but it's damn sure gonna change the game for them because it changed the game for me. I didn't know really where I stood on a lot of things, and now I understand that regardless of where I stand, certain codes have to be in place when it comes to my people. I gotta stay here, right or wrong. I gotta stay here. I gotta be here. You know what I'm saying? I even got to let the wrong fly by because that's what the other cultures do. So now that doesn't mean I go back and I say that doing wrong is okay, but what I can say is, well, that was wrong, but let me keep my mouth shut. Like so-and-so gonna do when somebody in their culture do wrong, or so-and-so gonna do. We the only people that attack our own culture and don't attack nobody else's culture when it's something wrong. So we made plenty jokes about Bill, but to circle back around to what you were saying, I think the left is faced with some incredible decisions to make on this situation, especially with that coming out. And also, let's not forget the Brittany Griner situation now too, because that's going to put them in a dilemma too. Because not only is Brittany Griner black, she's also, I believe, an open LGBT member. So now with that propaganda that they always running, because they always down for them. They always down for them, and they, like I always say, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just don't like the fact that they crowbar that into our agenda. That's a separate agenda. And I think black people need to realize you're black first. And there's no way that you're being discriminated against because you're LGBT before you're black. You're getting discriminated against for you're black. Now, if they happen to not like the fact that you LGBT too, separate subject. But I can guarantee you, if it's a discrimination involved, it's because you black first. And that's one thing they got to see. So I think this is going to be interesting to see how they handle it. It's going to be a telltale sign on how they handle it. Do we plunge in the war over Brittany? Or I'm serious. And I hate to be her. Do we plunge in the war over Brittany? Because now you're on full display now. You know what Ukraine has done from a racist standpoint. And now you have someone that you claim that I'm not going to say support, but that you, what's the word, man? That you try to sell the vote to. I'll say that, right? I know it's a better word for it, but I get so excited I get lost. So now you have
vote to us.
They pander. There you go. You have someone over there right now that is probably going to be stuck over there because of what's going on, and you got to decide if the people that you pander to, which is the black woman, because they really don't pander to us. That's another thing. Not the black man. Pander to the black woman. Man, I'm telling you, boy, this stuff gets crazy, right? You pander to the black woman and you pander to LGBT. Now, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? Let me shut up.
They on the stage with it right now.
They on the stage with it.
And you look at the humanitarian side, like you mentioned, with the Ukraine, you're gonna support that. But then you got the other side where you got the LGBTQ community component, American she's been held over there. So you kind of stuck in between. Which one do you value the most? Do you value being black, or do you value, the LGBTQ community? It's split. They always,
It's split.
like you said, they always try to put it together, which it shouldn't. But
It shouldn't. Nah.
so, which one is going to be more important to you? Which one are you going to publicly support?
Because they got a decision to make. And I feel for the girl because in my mind, if it's me, we gotta kind of sit on it and just hope that they take care of her while she over there. Because you talking about now something that's so terrible over one person, and I'm pretty sure that's what they're thinking. And the worst part about it is now the far right. Now we haven't even got to Monday yet. It's Sunday, so we haven't got to what the far right. I got the Sunday. I mean, excuse me, Monday. I listen to what they talk about because I always like to hear what their talking points are. I always like to see how they're going to denigrate this administration. So I'm pretty sure they're going to jump on there saying Brittany Griner deserve whatever she get and do the crime, do the time. Right? That's what they're going to be saying. And it's not worth plunging into war, which I don't agree with the fact that they're going to do it the way that they're going to do it because I know that it's a racist agenda behind it too. But I do understand that to a certain degree, this is correct because if it was me and you over there and we was over there just as regular American citizens, it ain't going and it's not gonna reach to any platforms to where they're gonna care about it. So it's definitely gonna be interesting to see how it plays out, and I think it's gonna be a good learning lesson for our community because now it's not like I said, it's not like me, yeah, it's not like me and you over there. It's not like oh shit talking ass Alvin is over there. You let his ass rot. So it ain't. Let me rock. Let them blow up Alvin, man. Tell Putin to blow him up. You know what I'm saying? This is going to go with, this is so deep because it goes, she's a woman and she's LGBT, which black people have been programmed to think that those two things come before being black. See, those are three of them. We say it too. It's actually three things. You a woman, you LGBT, and you black, right? LGBT and you being a woman, the way the Democratic Party have molded us come way before being black, right? So black people
number 3 on their agenda.
It's that exactly. Black is number 3 on their agenda. So let's see how they handle this. This is gonna be a good learning lesson, man. It's gonna be a good learning lesson, but I don't know how the Democratic Party probably gonna try to flip it. The far right, they definitely gonna say leave it there. We're gonna see how it works out.
And it was funny. I was looking at, I try to limit my social media exposure as far as like, the Facebooks, the YouTube, the Facebooks, Instagram, stuff like that. Because sometimes you can find yourself going down a rabbit hole and you're like, I don't wasted a whole hour and I don't feel like I did anything productive. So,
I'll be doing that.
But some of the stuff I did see and I thought it was funny is on my timeline. I saw some of the people that I'm friends with online. And they made comments about some people that I know that probably, I ain't gonna say I know, but probably don't support the right or conservative side. But it's like they meant it. They was like, well, if OT was in there right now, he went over there and got her like he did for the ball kid. And I thought that was kind of fun. I'm like, so because, and again, I go back to the whole narrative. I ain't gonna give him an out. But he did say in that last debate, I'm the least racist person up here. So he ain't saying he's racist, but he's like, I'm not racist as they are. But neither here nor there. But because, they told you to know that he stood for this, he stood for that, you got what we got in the office right now. But deep down inside, just by your statements, and you assuring me that you know what he could have done for somebody who just happened to be black, and go with that first, has to be a woman, happen to be LGBTQ. And you got confidence that he would have made sure to go over there and get her. But you sat up here and you allowed media to tell you he was against all 3 of those.
Exactly.
So this goes back, back to the thing we started out with. We talked about the background, how I was raised, but where do those roots come from? how do we go from being conservative in nature to this? Did it happen there? I guess like maybe like 67, 68 when it started, the whole women's rights thing, when they saw the momentum that was being gained in the black community, that they brought this in there to just kind of throw us off a course. And now this is more important than that. And then it set up the whole narrative of extracting the father out of the household. Uncle Sam's
Man,
gonna be your
you
man.
read my man.
I'm
You
gonna
read
give
my
you
mind.
everything you need. You don't need this man at home. And I think it's silly to I can't remember what I was looking at something. I've been looking at a lot of hip hop history stuff lately. I can't remember what artist it was, but he was telling a story about how when he was growing up, his mom had like 7, 8 different kids, and I think he was the first of his dad's kids. He had 2 more younger siblings, but all the other kids that was there before him, the dad stepped in and he took on that role to be the father for them. But every time them people would come to the house to do a welfare check to make sure that they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, he would have to literally climb out the window on the first floor and make sure
Oh
he
yeah.
had nothing there, because if a man was at the house, they cut him off from everything. How
Oh, of
is that?
course.
That's crazy, man. If anything, to me, and I'm like this with food stamps as well. I've been there before. I've been, under that situation. It motivated me to get off my butt to do what I needed to do. But
Right.
at the same time, though, if it was there, you need it, that's fine. I think if you really and truly want to uplift not just us as a people, but society, those government assistance programs, those should go to the people that go out every day, bust their ass to try to make ends meet and still come up short. That should be the stopgap so they can live comfortably. I don't think it's fair that they gotta go to a job they probably don't like, get paid less amount of money than they probably could if they were more educated or had more experience, whatever the case may be. But just like you penalize them for trying to do better for them and their families, and you like encourage them to just sit back, take what we give you, but you make sure you get that vote in for us every 4 years.
It's a game. It's a game. And I ain't gonna even say I won't even say that it's not a well, keep in mind it's not just us that use it. But that's the first thing. It ain't all us because we don't even make up enough of the population using. I think it's about 50-50. But in my mind, it doesn't bother me either way, except for what you mentioned in regards to that being all it takes to appease us and get our vote. See, that's what bothers me. I don't necessarily care
We
about
easy,
nobody.
man. We
Yeah, it's easy. It's easy, right? Right. That's all it takes. Is that all it takes? Well, because see, I don't look at that like that. I look at that like this, right? So if you decide you don't want to do no more than get that, you know what I'm saying? And I also feel like it's ways to get that and manipulate the system anyway. So it don't matter. Everybody gonna cheat because if you don't get food stamps, you can go buy 'em. You can go get some food stamps if you
two
really
for
want to.
one, baby.
Yeah, you know how you do it. So you can go get some food stamps if you ain't getting them. But I do think that we sell ourselves cheap. And I also think at the same time, like if you getting food stamps and that's all you concerned with and that's all you want to get, then that's you. And I think it's just a fraction of the money though that people are giving to people that come from overseas though. See, here's the difference. And here's what makes it disgusting to me. So you're giving us that we dumb enough to just be cool with that and that be it. You don't want to go no further, right? You want to stay in the same environment you in because you know it's just like you said. You got to stay in the same environment. You got to do this. You got to do that. In other words, it's not designed. That's why I say it don't matter if you get them. I don't care if they using the system or not because the system using them because they know that the rules that they have in place it keeps you at a standstill. So you're really damaging yourself if you can't figure out a way to finagle it and wiggle around it to make, like you said, need it till you need it, then find a way to wiggle around and make a move, right?
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, they just hurting themselves. But what the key kicker is for me is though, is that when the type of program that they have for immigrants that come over, some immigrants, not all, but like some Chinese people that come over, different people from different countries of Middle Eastern descent, right? Different nations like that. They come over here And the loan programs they get, they not like when me and you go for a business loan. See what I'm saying? That's the kind of tangible stuff that they give everybody else when they not from here and come here. That's the problem I have with it. So you hand us food stamps for a vote, right? Fine, whatever. But when other people come over though, y'all have legitimate business loan programs for them to where they can come. I mean, and a lot of those same cultures unfortunately denigrate us, right? They denigrate us. Let's just keep it a buck. They talk about
While
Black
being in our
American.
communities.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. While eating off our communities, right? So, and I used to think the same thing because I used to be like, man, you know, how is so and so able to come straight off from where they came from? And there's programs they got, man. You don't just come. Ain't no way in hell you come straight from over here and run through this again. You don't get no kind of help. You don't get no kind of nothing. And then you start doing your research. You start realizing the type of deals that the government got with these folks, right? You see what I'm saying? So that be my whole deal. Like, you giving us some chump change. Yeah, I'll take it, right? I'll take it. But in the back of my mind, you gotta at least be smart. Or in the back of my mind, I gotta know that this is chump change. These food stamps, this ain't really nothing but designed to do exactly what you said. Take the father out the house, keep us exactly where we at. Y'all giving real shit to other people to come over here, and y'all giving them real business loans. Me and you gonna get a business loan. Our credit gotta be A1. We gotta been worked out a plan. We gotta come up with a proposal. Then we gotta go deal with a bank that probably don't want to give it to us because they don't look like us. You see what I'm saying? It's 1,000 things we gotta go through to make that happen.
And how backwards is that? Because a lot of times when we come to that scenario that we're going in and we're trying to apply for these type of loans or government programs, for assistance to get businesses off the ground, you got to walk through that door with a business plan. You got to walk through that door with forecast, and because they're not just going to hand it to you, and you got to have a certain credit level.
Exactly.
Someone that just got over here, you know nothing about their history. You know nothing about they may or may not have a business plan, but they probably got to jump through the hoops that we got to go through. And the reason being, it's just my perspective, is they're making it more accessible to them because they're already in the initial stages of pimping them. They're buying the vote already. They know that you come over here, you're successful. When election time comes, you're registered or whatever, you're naturalized, whatever the case may be. Remember what I did for you. I need that vote. That's what you owe me. Versus us being born and raised over here, we've seen all the crap that we had to go through. We've seen how our communities are left. We see how the elections are done when we're a whole focal point during the election. Then right afterwards, it's quiet. Nothing else going on. So they're like, oh, we already know we got y'all. Y'all, because if you black, you going to vote Democrat. Or if
you don't demand nothing.
This, you're going to vote Republican. They already know what the play is. So they ain't got to work for it no more. But just like when, you know what I'm saying, when you got a pimp, he got some new talent in there, he going to wine you, he going to dine you before he do what he need to do with you to make that money.
Exactly. And then he going to put you on that track and you going to bring it back every time. Yep. Just like what we do. Man, and you hit it. And I think you've been trying to get to this point, and that's a perfect segue. God, you hit it so hard when you hit the pimping, man. It made me lose my thought. I got a little excited, man. It's your lingo a little bit there, man. But that kind of makes that next point to where if we're not demanding anything, we're not going to get anything. Like if we're not demand, and then everybody that's telling you, man, it's some of the craziest things I saw, and I'm still seeing because I still go hard on Facebook, man. You know how I do, man. My stuff, I go so hard. I know people don't even want to be associated with the comments I be making, but they all rooted in fact. Now the emotion I put behind them, the tone probably come off wrong, But at the end of the day, if we're not fighting or demanding to get something, then it's just like you said, man. It's just a waste of time, bro. Just a waste of time.
Agreed. So let's get into the meat and potatoes of this. How long are we as a community going to be stuck on this hamster wheel to where no matter what they do, no matter how they treat us, they can count on that vote every 4 years? Every 4 years. Or do you think, because we spoke earlier about the younger generation, do you think that narrative is going to change to where not necessarily they all go to this side? I think you might see some people, because we're conservative in nature, that might go over there and they might change the demographics of their party, or you might have momentum to whereas you got, I don't really identify on this hard right side. I damn sure don't identify on this hard left side. I'm kind of in the middle to where we get momentum to truly have a third party. But I think if it's going to happen, it's going to have to happen now because they're so fractured between the two, as we had mentioned earlier. Do you think that's possible?
Oh, most definitely. And I think, like I said, part of it, baby boomers about to die off, man. Unfortunately, on the right, racism won't die off because they still keep spreading it down to their kids, man. It's terrible. They keep spreading it down. That's another thing that's the only thing about the far right. I mean, they all doing it. Don't get it twisted, but they keep spreading it down. But I think when the baby boomers die off, I think it's a good shot. And I think I think black people now, don't ever get it twisted. When people like me and you, even if we don't agree on everything, we do agree that something isn't right, right? We agree that the current state of the way we're doing things aren't right. Don't get it twisted. These people know it and they see it. And once them baby boomers die off and once the youngsters take over and it becomes more popular, right now it just ain't popular. You got to realize most people monkey see, monkey do. I realized that through my journey of my own change because I went through several stages to get where I'm at. And I know I didn't think like this 4 years ago. I know I didn't. You know what I'm saying? I did not, bro. I just thought I probably would have been on the same train with the particular animal you was talking about. But now I know that animal is on both sides, though. See, I know that animal is not just on the far right. It's on the left, too. But you don't know that, though, because of the way they do it. But I think the main thing our people need to get in our head about politics is it's about strategy. It's warfare. It's just warfare without you having to go out there with a gun and shoot somebody. So you need to be doing whatever. And I think I think the main thing, and it's starting to resonate because of like people like me and you, and then the people that's been doing it before us. But it's starting to resonate that it's okay to put black people first because putting black people first does not make you a racist. We the only culture that when you say go black, American black, let's put this American black agenda first. We the only people that let's crowbar this. Once we realize that our agenda needs to come first, and then every sub agenda under that can come after that, then we can start. Okay, we can work with our black LGBT because guarantee you, white LGBT and black LGBT is two different things. But black LGBT people don't know that because they get wrapped up in the emotions of the propaganda. But once we know that we're black first, we put a black agenda first, we're good. Because guess what? Oh, and that's what I wanted to say. When you had discussed the family system, as far as the dad, we're the only culture, bro, where everybody talks about these different type of family models that they crowbar in there. Oh, yes, we got Dwayne Wade with this and that and that and that. I mean, okay, but not okay, because every other culture that's telling us, yeah, black people go out there and do that way. That's the way the nuclear family should look. They families don't look like that.
Right.
They families don't look like that. Hispanic culture, Indian culture, any other culture that you look at, the father is the head of the household, and everything goes under that. So why is it that all these people and all these folks up in office is trying to tell us and use the black folks as an agenda for something that's not really productive? Now, what you do and who you do it with, that's okay. But when you're changing the basis of and that's what I wanted to say when you had said that, when you're changing the structure of the family to where there ain't no man there, right? Mm-hmm. No other culture. What culture is propping that up but us? And we getting used. That ain't what time it is. That ain't how you get things done. Cause my thing is, and what kills me the most is, and people will do it. I see all these people. Oh yeah, that's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah, you guys go. And I'm looking at your culture, and I'm looking over here at you. Well, shit, your family ain't like that. Why you want my family to be wild and do all this crazy stuff? And what you do behind closed doors is what you do. I'm not saying that, but the traditional family is what makes the world go round. I believe in God still. I believe that's how God intended it to be, even with all my mess ups and everything we all do wrong. Right? At
Right.
the end of the day, you got to have some kind. It got to be some kind of structure to come home to. You know what I'm saying? There has to be some kind of structure, and if they out here telling you to do one thing or another, you can't have no structure like that. And that's why I say, kind of going back to the point and answering your question, once we start looking at politics as actual like battle, you know what I'm saying? Like somebody said that I was listening to about a month ago. They said warfare. That's the term they use. That's the term. Once we start looking at politics from a strategy standpoint, then your wheels start turning. You start saying to yourself, well, hell, if on the far right they're gonna tell me I gotta pull myself up by my bootstraps. On the left, they're gonna promise me shit that they ain't gonna never give me. Then either one, I don't need to be involved with that political system. Right? Right? No. Either one, I don't need to be involved in that political system. Or two, I need to make some different demands. Like, okay, over here they saying that. Over here they saying pull me over the bootstraps. Okay, fine. They gonna say that. Let me see what they offering though. Let me see if I can crowbar my way in here. Let me think strategic on how to make these, because they don't even, I think they got on the thing the other day. That man said he wasn't going to defund the police, right? Didn't Biden say that, said to you? He said he wasn't going to defund the police, and it was something else quirky, he said, something else weird. And I said, man, this guy basically, I think he said the LGBT was at the forefront of everything that they was, did he say that?
Mm-hmm.
That right. So he said all these things. Nothing he said had anything to do with the black agenda. And all of the current bills that they have in place, I think they got a few bills, right? In place. None of them things have went through yet, right? George Floyd Act, right? That didn't never go through. I don't think that none of these bills have went through, man. And they slowly just moving away from it.
The
And
John
what they
Lewis
thought,
bill.
yeah, the John Lewis bill, which that's the voter rights, right?
Correct.
Which is a farce, because and we didn't get to this, but I remember just looking at it. When I read the article, it made me remember that. I mean, I got a question. I like that article because it kind of got down to the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about in regards to what black people tangibly want. So I did like the article in that respect. But the John Lewis Voting Act, are black people not allowed to vote or something, bro? And when you tell black people that, they get upset. I had to tell my pops that, but my pops didn't get upset. He didn't think about it. He said, well, yeah, they saying something about having an ID. I mean, you can't get $33 to get your ID. If you ain't got $33 to go get your ID, right, to go vote, then that's not a problem. That's not a black problem to vote. That's a problem with, yeah, that's a you problem. Or hell, I could even take it bigger than that. That's a poverty problem. So if we got a bunch of black people that ain't got IDs to vote, then that's a problem we need to fix right there. That's a problem. See what I'm saying? But the way they
put the funding for that, they give them the funding for everything else.
Exactly, give them the funding for that. You know what I'm saying? But they telling us it's a voting problem. But what they really trying to do, and you alluded to this earlier when we talked about immigration, what they really trying to do is just replace the back vote now, because they know the smart ones of us, we on to it, man. We on to it, and we making noise about it. And don't you be fooled. All these Biden sexuals and all these people that thought that they see it, but they just can't admit it because they were just so cool. But sometimes we cool to each other like that. It is what it is. We'll get over it. Just admit you wrong and move on. You know what I'm saying? I done had to do it. So why is it so hard for everybody else to do it if it's for all I've been? Just say, hey, I was wrong. Yeah, you was wrong. It's all good, my brother, my sister. Let's move on. Now we on the same page. Now we can start infiltrating these systems and causing power. But if you keep letting them undermine you, and now that they know that you don't care, now they telling you about this Voters' Rights Act that they done put John Lewis on the front of it, and it ain't got nothing to do with him, because the only people that can come up that they want to come over here and vote with no ID is an immigrant. Once again, they put the immigrant in front of you. You got to stop.
We're in a very abusive relationship.
We are. Your boy, we can, man.
They keep telling us that they're not gonna beat us no more, and I would say it's gonna be different next time. But we still keep coming back, and the same thing just keeps happening, bro. And that part, you had talked about, the nucleus of the family being the father, and I get it. Even if it's not the traditional family where you got, two of the same sex or whatever case may be, somebody still usually is going to be in that role one way or the other.
Right.
But you can't totally extract that out of there and think that it's going to be okay, because it's not, because something's going to be missing. I think it's real shady on their part to try to stand up and tell us how we should feel, to tell us how we should vote, to tell us how all this stuff you're telling us how we should do it without being us. But as soon as we try to come and do something different to stand up on our own 2 feet, the first thing that you try to say is, and it ain't just our people saying it to us, it's outsiders saying it to us. They are so comfortable with it now that they call us sellouts, Uncle Tom, things like
man.
that.
And they shouldn't even,
and that's cool and acceptable.
Man, they shouldn't even be in the conversations. I'm getting to the point now where if you ain't black and we talking about black issues, I mean, I just because I can't go over to Trinidad and tell you, especially with immigrants that come over here from all over the place. I can't go to your country and tell you how to fix whatever's going on. I get it, the government so fucked up, but it's been fucked up to us too. So when you come over here, show some respect, because we done built a platform out of slavery. I don't care how messed up your government is wherever you're from. You didn't come out of bondage.
Got these roots.
Exactly. You ain't got these roots. So stop acting like that. Stop acting like that. Come over here and show some respect, because I wouldn't disrespect you by going over to where you at and telling you, oh, you got it good over here. You need to straighten up. No, you fled over here to America for a reason. So apparently you couldn't get it going where you was at. And like I said, man, I'm ahead of it. I'm cheating. I tell everybody that, man. I be watching the Professor. Man, I got Professor Truth, the Black Authority, Jason Black, some YouTube old videos from Dr. Claude Anderson. I think you had sent me a Claude Anderson video. Tariq Nasheed, of course. And it's a sister. I think her name is Nicole or something else. But man, I'm listening to this stuff every night. And see, that was the other thing, man. I get so caught up, and you make so many damn points. I can't get them all when I want to. But you made, I don't forgot it. You made the point to where I think you made a good ass point, man. I can't think of it, man. You were so on point with that. And it just made my mind blow, and I just lost it, bro. And it hurts me because there's so much in my mind. But all I'm saying is I'm ahead of it, right? And once all of us get ahead of that curve and we start seeing it, yes, information. You can check and balance. So what I've learned about what I do now with the media that I listen to now, what kept me enthralled and engaged was the fact that it's the first time when somebody told me 6 months ago what was going to be happening today. Because I could fact check. And then when you start seeing it, and it's just like you said, now your eyes is kind of like, oh man, this is crazy. Like it's nuts. Now when you see the propaganda, now when you see the agendas, now you see it's consistent. It's just like you said, it's an abusive relationship, bro. Every time we do something, we get them in office and they neglect us. How can you get mad at somebody for pointing that out? And how can you not see that yourself?
That's true.
Right. And then I can see it if you're bitter at first. We all human. We get bitter, jealous, envious. We get hateful when we hear the truth. I get hateful when I hear the truth. I hold it in and I suck it up. And by the time I respond to you, I might have to just say you're right. But that first initial thing is that truth stab you a little bit. It stab us all. But we got to accept it. And that's what we got to accept as black people now. We got to accept, you hit it. It's an abusive relationship, man. And we got to get up out of it, man. And if we can't go to this next person to help fulfill it, then we gotta do what everybody else. We gotta do what we've been doing anyway. We just got to get more organized. At the end of the day, if this one ain't doing nothing for us, and this one ain't doing nothing for us, we've been on our own anyway. The only difference is we ain't noticed that we on our own. You know what I'm saying?
That's true. That's true. Do you think? And this is the next segue into the next topic.
Boy, you're gonna be mad at me. Got to charge, so I'm gonna sound janky now. I'm janky, but go ahead.
so today is the 50th anniversary. I'm gonna meet you in between here. Today is the 57th anniversary of the Bloody Sunday. which was the march in Alabama, the 54-mile march for racial justice to the state capitol in Montgomery. So, do you think the people that was in that situation at that point in time, who was marching and chanting and standing up for equal rights, voting rights, things of that nature, do you think they will be proud of what they see right now out of us?
Well, this kind of reminds me of a question that my auntie asked me, but she didn't ask me the way that you asked because her intentions wasn't pure. But I think it would be. I think they wasn't pure, bro. I'm just calling it how it is. I think it would be mixed feelings, right? Because keep in mind they would be much older now, right? And I think they would have had learned enough to say that something's not right here. I think they'll agree that something's not right. But back to the propaganda. Here's the problem. They're going to do like they used to do with John Lewis, right? Because with John Lewis, good trouble, Selma. Is that what that's what this statement was? Remember, they keep propping that up. So it just depends on whether or not they can get a hold of him, give him some kind of title or position that may make him say everything's all good. See how deep that get? See how deep that get? Because ain't that what they did with John Lewis pretty much? Well, really, it's just like, you got beat up, man, out there, right? That's the imagery that they giving us, right? You got beat up out there. Now, if you're a smart person and you get older, you would say, hey, we shouldn't have been getting our butts whooped out there. But since we did, you guys, while you're out here voting, you need to make sure that you voting in a space to where it's strategic and it's benefiting you. You see what I'm saying? That's what I would think would happen if the propaganda wasn't involved. If people were just thinking for themselves, they would realize that what they did matter, even though might not agree with it all the way. It did matter, right? And it did help. But at the end of the day, it's a new time and a new age now. So because we evolved from that step, now we can be more offensive. So we should be able to be, I would think that they would think like that, like, kind of like, I guess the best way to describe it is kind of like towards the end of Dr. King's, stay, right? He started, and they never show us these videos. I think I posted a couple of them. I know nobody looked because it was terrifying to people. But he started to realize that, what did he say? He led his people to slaughter kind of out there because he didn't know what he was involved with. I think it would be the same frame of thinking if everybody had that mindset and they weren't manipulated. So it's hard to say what they would say, but I think it would be split. I think some people would be seduced by the propaganda and given a few pats on the butt, so they would kind of keep up this equality and blah, blah, blah. And I think some people would understand that, like Martin Luther King did, that we got some economic challenges, we got some racism that we still need to fight, and we got some things that we need to do that's not going to involve us getting beat up out here. You see what I'm saying? Right. That's what I think.
So we had things like, the boys boycotts, to where we were able to identify the value of the economic dollar that we contributed to certain societies. So we knew the impact that we had. It's even tenfold now. It's a lot more money in the Black community now than probably any other time in history. But with that being said, how much of it do we even own? We own little to nothing. We consume almost everything. We set the trends in the marketplace. But at the same time, it's like we haven't been able to stand up on our own 2 feet collectively and identify the impact that we make on this country, from voting who's in office to how dollars are allocated. How can we get past that point to where we identify with that? Because I think once we get to that, that's when the unity is going to come together, like you see in other places, with other demographics rather, to where if we're united, then they know they can't just come into any one of our communities and do what they feel like they want to do at any given time. It's consequences for coming in here and doing shady stuff. So how and when and will we ever get to that point?
Well, I think we'll get there, and I think it starts there, man. And identity is a big stage now, and I've gotten so much more comfortable with saying I'm a Black American, almost to the point to where I even question, the slave ships at this point, because sometimes if you stand yourself up against an African, my African brothers and sisters, first of all, everybody's from Africa. Let's just everybody knows that scientific proof says that the motherland is the beginning, that everybody's from Africa. But if you notice, we don't look exactly the same, right? If you notice, our cheekbones are a little different. There's different nuances that's like, we look more like what they consider to be Native Americans, which I'm starting to think that maybe we are Native Americans. And to kind of go from that to what you said earlier, we are responsible for so much in this country, even under duress. I mean, everything from, I don't have to name all the things that we've invented that people didn't even know that we had anything to do with. I don't have to I'm not going there because everybody knows, right? And it's just like you said, I think we need to not only unify, but we need to collectively agree that we are who we are. We are Black Americans, specifically foundational Black Americans. We have built this thing. We built it from the ground up, man. Can't nobody say they came and contributed too much. You got a few people, maybe the Chinese helped on the railroad. That's skeptical. We was out there on them railroads building too. But ultimately, that's the thing, identity. And I think that it's been so, it's always seen, I guess, especially, man, the way the Democratic Party do is, man, is a part of the problem. But it seems like every other culture is allowed to be proud when you go to a fight, right? I don't care if the kids' parents came from Nigeria, right? And they grew up in the US though, right? That kid gonna still have this Nigerian flag because they gonna represent where they lineage is. You know what I'm saying? Our lineage is here. And unfortunately, the way it's set up, America hasn't really completely and fully accepted our white America. Let's just call it what it is. White America hasn't fully accepted the level of contribution that we've made to this country because they conquerors and they always been in control. So they write history. But even looking at what's been written, we have to just start. Long story short, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole so deep. That what you said is the key, the identity thing. We need to start identifying ourselves and that's what makes the conservative party so enticing, because it's about that. Now, it may not be about us being about that, but we can make it about that. Or we can, like you said earlier, we can come up with our own political party that would be about Black American empowerment, because that's what it's about. Once we identify ourselves and who we are and our contributions and we start unifying, it's just like you said, now people got to show us respect. People don't respect us mostly because we just not unified. And that's just what it boils down to. Man, that's deep.
I'm looking here. So it kind of goes coming to the end of our discussion for today. But I'm looking here, future expectations. So there's let me see if I get the name of it right here. There's a project that's going on right now. It's called the Black Census Project for 2022. And it kind of goes into what we've been talking about here tonight. Identity, unity, confirmation, so to speak. But they are looking to capture the viewpoints of Black America. And they're saying this is the largest survey of Black people conducted in the U.S. in 157 years.
That makes it big, bro. That makes it big. I'm hoping I'm getting that on my doorstep so I can actually contribute and say something. I can't wait till that come up. You know, it's only gonna be one word on my list, man. Only one word. Reparations, baby. That's all I want to hear about. I want to hear about that. Give me some reparations for my contributions. You know what I'm talking about? Right. But I'm looking forward to that.
So some of the high points that I see on this is it's going to be through online submissions as well as in-person events. But they aim to capture about 200,000 people. I think that's not enough, but neither here nor there. Um, but they said it's going to take about 10 or 20 minutes to complete. And they began putting this project together back in 2016. It initially launched in 2018. And they did 30,000 people. I wish I could find the results for this because I'm curious at what it says. But it would also lead focus groups in 5 prior states: Georgia, North Carolina, Wisconsin, Louisiana, and California. And they said that these groups are going to coincide with the group's civic engagement outreach in these target states. Do you think that's a true representation?
It just depends. I would say, well, nah, it's not enough numbers to be a true representation. Yeah, but I think it'll give us a glance. You know, if you can't get the whole pie, at least you can get a piece of it to see how it tastes. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I think we can get a taste of maybe what people are thinking, and it just matters how they do it. So it has to be diversified. So in other words, you can't just send it to a whole bunch of people that's leaning this way. You got to make sure if it's one concentrated group, or maybe did they say it was going to do it in 1 or 2 states? Maybe I missed that part.
5 states.
5 states. Okay, as long as it's spread out evenly in regards to maybe political affiliations, counties, maybe like how they divide up what this county is traditionally, I think it'll give us a taste of maybe what Black people have on their mind. I don't think it'll be super accurate, but I think it'll be enough to maybe draw some reasonable conclusions, or even like theorize something that we can look for data in the future on it. So I think it ain't gonna be no bad thing. It just ain't gonna be super accurate.
Right. Something that you said earlier, we were talking about, the voter suppression, as it perceived, the whole thing, thinking that we don't have IDs and whatnot. When I heard that, the first thing I thought of, to me, I thought it was a bunch of crap, because just on our side of town, so to speak, we went from having, we used to have, I think you at one point in time you go to Dunkerville to get your license and things like that. Then they moved it to Cedar Hill. They kind of served this side of the community. Well, they shut that down and opened up a megaplex off of 35 and 20, which to me is in the heart of where we're at in the southern sector of Dallas. So how, just on the outside looking in and seeing that, how can you say that they're trying to take our inability away to vote, whereas they just put this entire DMV where you can get your ID, your license, your register, you get all the stuff you need in the hood. So how's that even feasible?
Man, I mean, like I said, I don't know the little nuances that the far right are trying to do to make it more difficult. I'm pretty sure there's something that they're doing to try to make it more difficult. So I can't really say that I don't. I'm pretty sure they're up to something. You know what I'm saying? That part, I'm not. But I look at that the same way I look at everything else. They always up to something. And you also got to realize whatever they implement, right? Let's say they implement something that everybody got to have this. Everybody got to have it. So if you're trying to slow down us, you slowing down everybody else too, because everybody on that side ain't got it all together either. You see what I'm saying? That's what I thought about. When I first thought about it, I'm like, all right, we ain't the only people without IDs. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we're not the only people. So what is it that the far right is trying to institute that's going to stop us? But just like you said, when I hear the arguments for the John Lewis Act, and it's talking about some of the key points is, like you said, ID. All that ring my bell is, okay, so y'all want people who ain't got ID to be able to vote. Oh, ding dong. All I thought was immigrants. So I'm like, here we go. And you alluded to earlier, you're trying to replace it. And just like you said, it really don't make sense that it's going to stop us. If the most catastrophic thing is that you have to have ID to vote, which actually is, that's kind of nuts that somebody would be refuting. Nah, common sense would tell you, like, okay, you gotta have ID, bro. I mean, you gotta be able to identify yourself to do most things, in the world. So for you to be if that's one of the key
key initiatives in that bill is to make it to where you don't have, like my boy, like my president say, well, you don't have to show ID to go to the voting polls. If that's like a major part of what you're trying to do, that's suspect, man, because the average American that cares about politics at all probably can get an ID, my brother. And I'm gonna leave it at that.
They actually kind of tipping their hand a little bit for them to not. I look at it like this: the only people that I think that don't have an ID is either somebody that doesn't do any type of transactions that require it. Let it be going to the bank, establishing lines of credit. So if you're not in that narrative, then I get that. The other thing that I see that you would need ID. Most people that I know or I've encountered or I've hung with in the past that had no desire to carry ID, they got warrants or something's going on. So they probably ain't going to vote anyhow. So I automatically default to the first portion of it is they're not doing any transactions. So I mean, if I hear that, that means y'all want to keep us on the government, you know what, so to speak, in order to, whereas we don't need none of that. We got you. We got your food. We got your housing. You got you. And if you think about it, that's like them leaving us on the plantation.
Which, in looking at it like that, which I ain't never looked at it like that, but that, and then when you tally that up and then you go back to some of the other stuff you mentioned, boy, that's deep. That's cold-blooded. And it's utterly and extremely disrespectful. It's another example to where they telling us exactly how we supposed to be and what we supposed to do. And they keeping us in a little bubble to where we could, well, don't worry about it. Oh man, that's throat. That's throat, man. That's throat. But then on the flip side, speaking of that, and this is, oh man, deep. It's about to get deep now that you said that. So you tell us that in regards to housing and food subsidies or whatever, right? And then though this PP loan and all that crap we hit licks on, right? Hold on. Did you hear him mention that? We got a whole task force for that.
That's when it come after us,
yeah. So you gonna come after us for that though. We can't hit no business licks like the white boys do, right? We can't hit them though. Because you know that's for us. Who is that for? They are not coming. You know who they coming after for that, man. They coming after for that. And it's very ironic that he mentioned that. That's probably the point. Boy, I love it. That's why I love talking to you, man. Somehow we always circle back around to them damn point. That's exactly the point that I was trying to make earlier. That man said he's not going to defund the police. And that man said LGBT was the forefront of what they was going to do next. Either he or Kamala said that. And then that man said he put together the task force for them PPP loans, man. A task force? And
to coincide with that task force, I think he ordered an additional like 887 auditors. So they're gonna be looking at tax returns, and they're gonna match it up. That's gonna be the launch pad for this task
bro. And he's been getting in everybody business with the other cards, with the alternative banking solutions. Killing black people now. He killing them. Hey, the man is killing. We can't hit him. Trump didn't care about us hitting no lick here and every now and then, man. He wasn't tripping on nothing like that. I'm just telling the truth. He wasn't gonna be telling everybody that they go bank cards. He's the ultimate. Hey, Trump, the ultimate financial link hitter. He wasn't tripping about that little money we be doing, man. Now, and I be laughing. I laughed when I saw that. I said, "Dang!" I said, "Ain't nobody on the timeline gonna mention that he coming after us for the PPPs, man. He coming after us, man. Coming after us." And they quiet as a church mouse. And you do realize, a lot of people hit some big time licks on that. I'm talking like some big time money, man. They hit some big time money on that, Jack. So yeah, man, the more you talk about it, bro, and I already knew it, but then you, like I always say, you making some points that was right in my face, and I ain't never even think about it. Man, this administration is spitting in our face so bad, man. It makes me think, what worse can all the other side do? Is they just overtly racist. But I think in regards to actual, what is it? What's the word? Man, I can't even, man, I'll get on here with you and I can't even think, man. I could have said this 1,000 times in general conversation, but actual policies that they have Trump didn't put no policies in place that literally hurt us. You see what I'm saying? Right. He didn't put no policies in place that literally hurt us. Joe Biden's known for doing that from way back in the gap, right? And then he puts in policies that help people other than us, which hurts us. You know what I'm saying? He gave us crack pipes, but that yeah, they was mad about that, man. And people tried to argue that down, man. People tried to have rebuttals for that. There's no rebuttal for that, bro. Yes, of course it wasn't real crack pipes, but plastic casing coverings to help you smoke crack, brother. That's pretty weird. But then that wasn't my thing. See, my whole thing about that though, bro, it wasn't that he did that. That particular initiative is not anything that's new. That's an old initiative. They do that in other countries, right? But it's the trick bag. It's the language. They specifically said it was for racial equity. That was the disrespect. And truth be told, man, right in your face, bro. And here's the crazy part. It's my belief, and this is something that unless I'm blessed, I'll be watching these other outlets, because now it's to the point to where I take all the information I get. I got my own theories now. Now a lot of my theories is my own theory. I don't even think that it was modeled for Black equity, but I think that shit was for the opioid crisis that we having. That's for their people, bro. Yep. You see what I'm saying? Yep. That's for them to stop dying in numbers. So you not only you so disrespectful, you created something to really help out white America's opioid crisis, because that's really what it was about. But then you package it and say it's for Black equity. Well, that's cold. You can't tell me that's not cold, man. They cold, man.
They very cold. And the first thing I thought of is obviously like where I work at now. I'm in Oak Cliff, I'm in Duncanville, DeSoto, Cedar Hill. So I'm where it's a lot of us at. And there's sometimes I see some pretty crazy stuff when I'm out there every day. But a lot of times, I'm gonna keep it real, man. I didn't know smoking crack was even still a thing, because all I see is you either on the herb, you on the lean, or you a meth head, or you do your coke or whatever. Well, two of those don't really apply to us that much. And two of those, if you think about it, well, one of them is kind of out of control. It's kind of go away. People still do lean, but it ain't like it was in the early 2000s. But the marijuana industry is huge. That's kind of our thing. The whole opioid outcome, it pissed me off when I heard it, how they wanted to try to help. And like I say, the crack pipe could be part of that initiative, whatever the case. But it pissed me off of growing up, how many family members or friends or families did you see? Each one of us had firsthand accounts of somebody that we personally knew that was affected by crack. And it tore the family unit apart. And that was cool. Now that it's in certain people's backyards, now it's an issue all of a sudden that they want to try to address it. And to me, that's just another thing of the many lines of just a blatant disrespect. They don't even think we have enough common sense to look through the crap that they shoved into us. So they're just blatant in our face with it, and we ain't calling them out on it.
I mean, what can I say that you just didn't say, bro? That's it. Then that's the most disrespectful part, is how blatant it is, and the fact that they literally, I mean, and this is documented. We done seen the little films that they do. They literally push crack in our community on purpose. The government did, and that's a known fact.
Said the rappers were lying when they never tried to tell us about that back in the day.
Right, exactly. And you hit the nail on the head, man. That's why I always talk about reparations. I know people get weird about that, but anytime your government is pushing crack into your backyard, taking fathers out the home, I don't care if you're out of slavery yet, they still owe you because they still got you in last place. Everybody that come over got a head start, right? And everybody that's before us got a head start. So that's why I always say, for us to want something exclusively, with all that we've been through, if either parts of this government gave a damn, they'll give it to us. But they care about what's going on with everybody else. It's just like you said, the problem is blatant. And the problem is, I still say, bro, I'm sticking to my guns, is white supremacy. And we see it manifest itself on both sides. And what's so disrespectful about the Democratic Party is they do it in ways that are just so intimate. It's just like you said, it's intimate, bro. It's intimate. It's abusive relationship. It's intimate. It's intimate because what do? It's just like you already hit it up. They wine you, they dine you, they court you, right? They give you some symbolistic trinkets. They might put somebody on a quarter every now and then. They might appoint somebody as judge, right? But if you look deep, I'm just calling what they do. They'll appoint somebody. Hell, they even gave us a black face that didn't give a damn about us. And everybody knows that now. It's not even taboo. It's not even taboo to say Obama didn't do nothing for us. Even he done came out and said it on interviews, well, I couldn't do nothing. Nobody can ever, when it comes to us, nobody can ever do nothing. But when you check the backgrounds of these people and you figure out their true lineage, you'll realize they're not even American black. Check out this judge that they just appointed, and just look into her affiliations, and then you'll start to see something. Look at Kamala and her affiliations, and you'll start to see something. You would think that doesn't matter, but it does. And it's messed up that matters, but it does matter because that's their way of vetting you to see where your mind state is.
He like. They wanted to get one. They wanted to get one.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So and then I can even apply this to my own life, bro. And I'm gonna shut up. I can apply this to my own life. I look at my failures and I look at things that people have told me. Well, maybe you didn't get this because you're this and you didn't this. And now I understand exactly what those code words mean. I've had people tell me in interviews I wasn't humble enough. I've heard some crazy shit, right? I'm like, humble enough? What? Well, you're a little overconfident. And I'm thinking, well, damn. And now that I understand language, that just means, oh, okay. I'm not allowed to be assertive because if I was a white boy and I hit every point, you'll like it. But no, I've heard some wild stuff, Clarence, like some stuff that you don't hear. You don't hear the stuff I've heard. And then now I relate it to what I know now. And I'm like, man, maybe they right. Maybe I wasn't, you know what I'm saying? But never anything about my performance, never anything about what I know. Always something about me being overly confident or arrogant or something weird. Just the weirdest things you ever hear when you're trying to kind of climb the corporate ladder. Right. And they're inviting you to climb it. And then they kind of get a sense of who you are. And then now I realize, oh, I was vetted. Nah, you're not going. Yeah, you might. You know what I'm saying? I know now. You might question some shit, but yeah, man, it's deep how they do us, bro.
It's deep. They say they feel that we need others to take care of us or to think for us. The wording.
Oh, most definitely. Well, I mean, we guilty of that to a certain degree. So I agree with that 100%. But they understand it. They understand it to a level to where it's just like you said earlier when you talked about the food stamps and the government system. They understand they're not. It's not that. They just know that we'll accept having somebody take care of it. And I hate to use it, but I gotta say it. White mommy and white daddy. That's why people don't want to get off the bandwagon. That's why people are so comfortable with the Democratic Party too, because they know that they don't have to do nothing now. Now we don't got to do nothing. Like this stuff me and you talking about. This requires us to jump out of the system, right? And we on our own. We got to make it work. Truth is, The majority of us are comfortable with the system, even myself included, right? Myself included. So I have to always question my motives. I have to always focus on trying to do something else to generate revenue, or I have to keep myself in practice for when the system do me in. You see what I'm saying? And we are so comfortable in the Democratic Party, like you said, they make it so comfortable with accepting things because we getting something and we don't have to really do nothing. That means me and you don't have to have these tough conversations where we disagree with each other, but we still got to make it work. See, in every other community, they have that. They might not like so-and-so over there, but they still got this code. All right. But still though, hey man, when we go over here and do this though, we handle that behind the scenes. They don't need to see a unified front. You know what I'm saying? It's deep, man.
And the only way we're going to be able to change that narrative, we got to challenge one another. Thus, what we call this Sharpens.
That's it, bro.
Who you got for shout-outs tonight, brother?
Oh, man. And Coach Lee and everybody over there at Sports Talk with Friends. You know what I'm saying? Y'all keep everything lighthearted over there, man. Sometimes that's my escape, so I throw some in there every now and then. But shoot, man, I ain't got no shout outs to nobody else, man. That's just me and you right now, man. We loners out here, man. I ain't got no shout out for nobody, man. There was a time when I'd have had 1,000, but I'm alone now, my brother. I'm too radical, as they call it. You know, that's another code word, but yeah, I'll accept it. I'm too radical right now, but yeah. I always appreciate you, man. This is always good. Man, this is just always good, bro. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man. Shout out to you, brother. Shout out to the people that are going in here tonight. We just in here trying to keep your mind sharp, trying to keep you in a different perspective and let you know there's other ways to do things. You don't have to stay to the status quo. You don't have to take what's being given to you. You can jump out there, think outside the box, because at the end of the day, we're here for our legacy. What we do, what we accomplish, we can't take it with us. But the one thing that will always stay is our legacy. And that's going to be handed down from generation to generation. And we got to do our part. We are the stewards of our family name right now. We are the stewards of our family legacy right now. So we owe it to our ancestors to do our part to make sure that we leave that legacy and help continue to lay that foundation. And like you said, we're conservative in nature. So by all means, get out, make a name for yourself, do what you need to do. And at the end of the day, don't let anybody tell you how you need to think or feel.
Yes, sir. I couldn't have said it better, man. So yeah, man, just, you know what I'm saying? And we just got to learn to, shoot, man, sometimes man, I'm telling you, I take emotional L's all the time. And sometimes you just got to take that L. Sometimes what you're holding on to just ain't working, man. You got to you can't get so emotionally attached to one thing that you can't change your thought process to another. I even have to deal with that with this new information I'm getting, because it almost conflicts with me on a spiritual level, on a religious level. A lot of things I'm learning conflict with me. So I'm struggling with that, but I'm open to it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, man, that's that, man. That's that though, man. Y'all just keep your minds open.
Well, appreciate y'all. We're going to be back with y'all. Hopefully we get together more often.
Oh, this is good. We doing good, man.
Well, we appreciate y'all. Y'all tune in next time. Thanks for hanging out with another installment of Iron Sharpens. Y'all have a good night.